Hi guys, it's Elle. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about the makeup mistakes that age us. I took a poll on YouTube, which is so cool. We can do polls now. What you wanted to see today, which one, and this one won out. And make sure you guys stay to the end because that's when I'm actually going to be doing the giveaway. So if you want to know more about makeup tips that age you, I'm going to be doing one half of my face that is the correct tips and one half of my face that is the incorrect tips. Please keep watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and let's do it. All right, so far what you can see is I have done this half of my face with my entire skincare. So my essence, my serums, my moisturizer, an eye cream, and a primer. And I used the Ren Perfect Canvas primer. And this side, even though it has a little bit of a glow because I have a moisturizer on, I do not have any skincare on underneath it. It actually feels quite, it feels weird to have one side of your face feeling kind of plumped and ready to go and this one kind of just with moisturizer on it, and I don't even have any eye cream on. The reason why, and no primer, the reason why I wanted to start here is because I hear so much about people not using any skincare as far as serums and things like that to address aging concerns. And also too, these serums are going to help your makeup look better. And then a lot of people don't even wear like a moisturizer on their foundation, which I just couldn't do because my skin is dry and it would just be hating me. So that is not what we're doing today on this side. But then a lot of people I hear don't even use an eye cream and then they expect their concealer to be looking flawless and perfect. So that just is not going to happen. So make sure you're wearing great skincare. Make sure you're doing an eye cream. Now primers. I am a big fan of specific primers. So the Ren Perfect Canvas primer is the perfect one for me. And I have put that all over this side of the face. Now we're gonna go in with a primer that is new to me, and I've been trying this the past couple of days. This is the Professional Pearl Primer by Benefit. This is a brand new launch for them. And the reason why I wanted to share this is because as we age, we start to notice things that our foundation is not setting on the skin really great anymore. Pore size is becoming an issue. And a little while ago, about, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 months ago, I did a video on a quick makeup tips to help you look younger. So this is going to be an expansion on that. And I did talk about the Garnier 5-Second Blur Primer. And that is going to, since they no longer sell that, this is the one, and by Milk, these two are a great substitute for that. Now the instructions on this say to apply it all over the face. In my opinion, is just really supposed to be for targeted areas. Now, the difference between this primer and their original formula, which is just the regular original Professional, is this one has a brightening. You see how it's kind of brightened the skin right here? It has a brightening mechanism to it. And so it's going to help with pore size, it's going to help smooth out the skin, and it has no luminescence to it. So that's also something to note, is that when you do have large pores or texture, you don't want anything that's going to add any shine to that area. And I'm just bringing it up on my forehead just a little bit. It's going to be kind of hard to keep it on one side of my face. I'm going to put it on my chin where I have a little bit of pore size. And I'm going to be putting it right above my lip. All right, so now that that primer is on, we're gonna go right into foundation. So tip number 2 is going to be using a foundation that is lightweight for the first couple of layers. So a lot of people go in, I'm using the Makeup Forever Water Blend Foundation. I'm going to be putting this on with my hands. It's a very sheer coverage. A lot of people go in with a full coverage foundation because they want the skin to look perfected right away, but yet they might not need a full coverage foundation all over their skin. Maybe they might need it in just specific areas. And so that's why I love this formula, because it is so sheer, and the best way to apply this is with your fingers. But this formula is so sheer and so skin-like that I absolutely love this foundation for. All right, so there is about 2 or 3 layers of this foundation. You can see the skin still looks like skin. It's gorgeous, and I will refine it a little bit more with a matte concealer. Now, I am super fair, so I'm going to be using Vanilla by NARS. This is their soft matte concealer. I'm just going to use on the butt or the head of the Beauty Blender, and I'm just going to go in and just conceal smaller areas that I might need a little bit of extra coverage. You can absolutely use your Maybelline Instant Age Rewind for this, since it is more matte. Even the Urban Decay's new All Nighter concealer would be great for this. But I'm just using it where I need a little bit more coverage. And the reason why I suggest doing this, now I didn't promise you that this was going to be time saving. I promised you that this was going to be of a more routine that's going to make you appear more youthful. We'll just use that as a general term. And I'm going to be using this around my nose because I get a lot of discoloration around my nose. I'm going to be using a different concealer under the eyes, so I'm just going to use this around my nose. And I actually use concealer on my nose because I have a problem with things sticking to my nose. So I like to use a matte concealer on my nose. All right, so now we're gonna go on the other side. Now, the products I'm using on this side, it doesn't mean that I don't like these products, because I do. These are a lot of products that I actually use, but I just wanna impress upon you the techniques. All right, so we're gonna be using the Maybelline Fit Me Matte Poreless Foundation in 122, and this is a very full coverage foundation, and I'm just gonna slap a bunch of this all over my skin. All right, so now you can see that this side has a ton of coverage on it. You can actually see my texture starting to kind of come through here, but it's pretty concealed. All of my imperfections and discoloration and pigmentation is all taken care of, but it looks really heavy, really cakey, and very, very matte. So matte foundations, unless you're super oily, are going to age the skin. That's why I like foundations that have a natural skin finish to them. So they just look like skin. They're not super dewy and they're not super matte. So this is basically a more mattifying foundation that will dry down, and it just looks really heavy and cakey, and it's gonna start to settle into fine lines all over. So going in with a lighter hand, concealing imperfections here and there, in my opinion, is going to be a better bet. All right, so now we're gonna move on to eyes. I think that eye makeup should be done, and we're gonna talk about for more of an everyday approach. Of course, if you want to amp it up for a date night or some sort of party, of course you can use the same tips, but use darker shades. The main thing to really remember is to start off with a eyeshadow shade that is basically your skin tone. So I'm just going in with a nothing color, just a color that matches my absolute skin tone. And I'm going to be taking it from the brow bone all the way down to the lash line. And the reason why we do this is because it's going to give you a nice highlight underneath that brow, which is going to instantly give you an eye lift. I'm going to go inside here because it's going to instantly open up the eyes and make the eyes a little bit brighter, but it's also going to give you a base to allow whatever shadows you put on top to blend out more smoothly. I do want to stop and talk about cream shadows. I absolutely love the Charlotte Tilbury cream eyeshadows, Eyes to Mesmerize. There's a brand called Nude Sticks. I love them. All their products are vegan and cruelty-free. They're beautiful cream shadows. Merle Norman's cream shadows are gorgeous. If you have a lot of texture on the eyes, or a lot of eyes that are sagging or looser skin on the eyes, try to use a cream eyeshadow, and I think you'll really be impressed. All right, so whether you're using a cream shadow or not, I always start with a transition color in the crease. So you're going to be doing this in whatever crease shape that you want, but it's going to be a very light color, usually some sort of type of a brown taupey color. I am going to be using the Ambient Light Bronze, Luminous Bronze Light from Hourglass. And I like to use either a shade that is matte or one that has a little luminosity to it. Now, I'm not saying even a satin finish. This should not even be a satin finish. That's why I like to use bronzers in the transition area, because they have so much natural skin shift to them, and they're not overly matte. So as we get a little bit older, we have sometimes drier lids, and anything you're going to use with too much of a matte finish is going to make your lids look really dry and 100 years old by themselves. So that's why I like to use bronzers, and also too, you get more use out of your bronzers, because I've never gone through a whole bronzer, ever. So something like this, and then I kind of dust my brush off, and I just blend this out. And making sure that you're using a big fluffy brush like this to make sure everything is really nice and diffused is also really important. Now, you want to make sure whatever you put right here is lighter, because you want this section of your eye usually for the most part to kind of stand out. Now, if you have bigger, larger eyes, maybe a little bit more rounded eye, I would bring this darker color in a little bit and leave the lightness kind of right here. That way it will diminish the roundness of your eye. But something like this for me, unless I'm going for a dramatic look, I don't want to bring this to be super dark right here, because it's just going to close in the eye. So right now what I would do is I would usually use something with a lighter shade. So for example, the Charlotte Tilbury cream shadow in Eyes to Mesmerize in Marie Antoinette is one of my favorites to use right here. But I want to show you something a little bit different, and you can take any kind of cream shadow right over this, use your finger to blend it out, and you're ready to rock and roll. I am actually going to be using, though, the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector Pressed in Rose Gold. Reason being is because these cost a ton of money. You're never going to go through them all, and I absolutely love this color, Tap Off Excess, for the lid because it has a slight shift to it. So the product that you use right here should have a slight shift to it, what I mean is it's going to be a satin finish shadow or something like this. And there's a lot of people out there that say you shouldn't be using glitter eyeshadows on a more mature eye. What I think about that is I don't love super chunky eyeshadows on a more mature eye, but I definitely recommend using one that has a satin finish to it or something like this of this nature. It's just beautiful. It opens the eye up. It gives a little something special behind the eye and reflects light so beautifully. Just going in with a smaller brush. So it catches the light and makes the eye look a little bit more open. Okay, so for the eye, like I said, I see a lot of people using or asking about full shimmery shades of eyeshadows. These are some of my favorite shadows by ColourPop, but I want to show you what it looks like when you use all shimmery shades throughout the whole eye. So I'm going to be using Bouncy. I want you to see what it looks like when you use a glitter shadow in the crease. And no matte shades. And this would also look the same if you were to use, do you see how it's exacerbating my texture on my eyes? This would look exactly the same if you were to use all matte shadows. It looks extremely flat if you were to use all matte shadows, and extremely dry. Now this is going to exacerbate any kind of texture on the eye or any kind of wrinkles or skin that is not as taut as it used to be. And now I'm going to be using Fluffy by ColourPop. I'm going to put this right here on my eye. And you can also see that things are not blending out as well without the shadow underneath. Things are not looking as smooth. But do you see how all shimmery shades you can see all the texture in my eye now. All right, let's talk about eyeliners. So in my opinion, somebody that is, concerned about kind of looking fresh, awake, and youthful, using a black eyeliner is going to be very stark. I think for the most part, using a navy blue, a plum, a hunter green, or even a brown that has some gold reflex in it is beautiful, and I think it should be replaced. Now again, these are not tried and true. You can absolutely rock a black eyeliner, but for the most part, it's going to look more harsh. I've also seen a lot of people just line this bottom lash line like this because they think that it frames the eye, and then they don't do any liner on the top, or they do a big thick black liner on the top as well. So immediately it's going to make the eye look a little bit more closed in, a little bit more harsh, and this black line on the bottom, if you wanted to do that, use a brown liner and diffuse it with a little Q-tip or your finger, and that's a better way to do it, which is what we're gonna do now. All right, so these are some of my favorite liners. These are Pixie by Petra's liners, and I love to tight line. So when you tight line, it gives the definition that you're looking for at that lash line, but doesn't close up this area. Because the more color you put along here, the more closed up your eye will look. So by doing just a quick tight line on top, that with something like a brown, that's what I would do. It's gonna give you that definition at your lash line, make it look a little bit more full, the lashes, and it will give you, like I said, the definition you're looking for. I have been known to do a touch just on the outside corner a little bit. Take a brush and blend this out. And this will just give a little bit of definition on the outer corner of the eye, and it will pull your attention out to the outside corner of the eye and make everything look a little bit more pulled up. Okay, so now this tip I really want to impress upon you is finding your eye shape. So this line right here underneath your, this lash line on the bottom is going to be your guide to where your eyeshadow on top should stop and blend out. So let me show you. So if I take my little eyeliner and put just a touch on this bottom lash line, right, just like this, and I go from the outer point and I go work my way up, and you see how this is right here? That is where your eyeliner and your eyeshadow should go to. And you'll notice when you blend this out that it's going to go in an upward motion. So just like this. So as we age, our eyes have a tendency sometimes to go into a downward motion. It starts to kind of droop. And we want to combat that by going upwards. So when you take your eyeshadow, if you go down too far, it starts to bring everything down and have the appearance of your eyes being downturned. Okay, so now we're gonna go in with concealer. This is a trend that a lot of people use, and I use sometimes when I'm doing photos and things like that, but it's the triangle effect or the triangle of light. I'm going to show you what I mean. So this is a Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Neutralizer. A lot of people take it like this, full strength, because you see so many YouTubers doing this. If you have seen this, please put a little hand up in the comments section, and you have thought to yourself, wow, maybe I need to do that. Maybe this is what I need to do to have a lifted, brighter under eye. And then you just kind of blend it out a little bit with your finger or your sponge or your brush, okay? Now, if you are, you know, younger, 20-something or whatever, you absolutely can do this, look blown out, look flawless, no big deal. But this doesn't really work for somebody that has a lot of texture under the eyes, somebody that's dry, somebody that starts having fine lines. It's just gonna start to gather way too much product up in that area. So what I recommend is, again, I'm not changing the concealer, is to use dotting motions in a downward motion right where you traditionally have your darkness, and start to tap that out. Using a damp beauty blender is fantastic for this. Now I am pulling this down just a little bit and out. So you can already see that there's some brightness here, right here. Now if you do have a little bit more darkness here, like if you have dark circles or something like that, you can add a little bit more. or if you like to be a little bit brighter like I do. But do you see the difference between the two? It's a lot brighter right here, very little product. Then a little bit of a tip is I take my concealer on the tip of my beauty blender. And what I do, I'm going to turn here so you can see, is I take just a little bit and I follow that line that goes up to my hairline. And I start to tap that out. So you can see I've skipped this middle section because I don't need any concealer here. But I do like a lifted eye look on the outside corner of the eye. So do you see how this is starting to look lifted? And everything is kind of smooth and going up this way. Again, a little bit of product. So many people out there do not curl their lashes. Dude, you guys are missing out on the lash curling. Now, if you do not curl your lashes because you're afraid, just practice. What this does is it opens the eye up. It gives an immediate eye lift to the eye. It makes your lashes look longer, and it opens up that eye so beautifully. And you can even, if you don't even wear mascara, just curl those lashes and put a little bit of clear mascara on, and it'll hold them. But look at the difference between this eye. Do you see how this one looks a little bit more closed in and this one is a little bit more open? Dude, you have to curl your lashes. Okay, mascara. All right, so let's talk about brows. I know a lot of people out there are not super into coloring in their brows. Maybe they're too afraid, maybe they don't know how, but I'm gonna do my brows with the L'Oreal Brow Style Shape and Fill brow pencils. And I want to show you that the difference between filling your brows in and not is epic. They are the framing of your face. If you have not done this, at least do this with a clear mascara or a brow gel. I'm gonna go do that off camera and I'll be right back. If you need to know how to fill your brows in, I have a lot of videos on that and I will link them below. All right, so you can see already that doing the brows just really enhances the look, frames the face, really gives this some lift, and I am a big fan of at least filling your brows in a little bit with a brow gel or a little bit of a pencil. So it really, in my opinion, is a must. All right, so let's move on to the rest of the face. So I use the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind for my under eyes. That is a little bit of a drier formula, so I don't necessarily have to set that concealer really ever. So if you use a drier formula and you don't have to set it, that is gonna be amazing and not going to age you one bit because you're not adding more powder. But if you use a different concealer that is a little bit more hydrating or something of that nature, setting it with a powder like this is the Hourglass, I'm a broken record, Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder. This is in diffused light. And I absolutely love to use this. Where is my beauty blender? I just put a little bit on my beauty blender or with a very light brush, but I just like to take a little bit of this. This is not baking. And you just kind of tap it underneath the eye and wherever, you might need a little bit of powder. Then I would take a translucent powder. My favorite translucent powder is the Cover FX powder. This is in translucent light. This is talc free. So if you get another powder that is not talc free, these are also talc free, it is going to leave a more of a cakier, chalkier finish to the skin. So I always recommend using a setting powder that is talc free. So then for the rest of the face, if I really need to, which I don't always set this foundation that I used, but I'm just going to use a very little bit and just brush it over like the hot spots. Now this is where a lot of people go wrong. A lot of people will pack on the powder. You can also use a beauty blender, by the way, if you want to just pack it on a little bit. But a lot of people will use a full powder brush of powder and pack it on. That is going to absolutely dry out your skin, dehydrate it, make it look like it's 80 million years old. So I'm also going to talk about baking. This is the Laura Mercier translucent powder. Everybody raves about it. I feel it's just one of those powders that you should avoid if you're over 30. I love Laura, I love her brand, but this powder, in my opinion, is just not the best. So a lot of people will take a crap ton of powder and place this under the eye and let it sit, which you know how I feel about baking for anybody older than, I don't know, 30. This is going to completely dehydrate the under eyes and make it look crazy. And then a lot of people will take this powder and pack it on all over the skin. They'll even take a powder puff, and it just ages this skin so much. It looks dry, has no kind of natural, see how this side has like a natural glow to it? This side is completely matte and it looks really, really dry. I just do, you know, I don't talk about products I don't like a lot, but this powder is just a no-go for me. You can see the fine lines under my eyes already coming forward, and you know, this eye is the same and you can't see them on this side. It just is not a good look. All right, so let's talk about shaping the face. Contouring. Contouring is a huge trend. I get a lot of people that ask me about contouring. Should I contour? Can I contour? You can do whatever you want, whatever makes you feel good and, you know, makes you happy, absolutely. But if we're looking for anti-aging, this is just a regular matte bronzer by MAC. A lot of people will take a matte bronzer and give this a real chisel. Do you see this? And they'll leave a stark line and they think that they need to contour because that's the trend. If you want to contour, do not use something that is flat. I would use a cream product before you do your powder and contour just right here and a little bit around the hairline. Doing something like this, which is what you can do when you're a lot younger, is really severe. It's very, very harsh. So what I recommend is doing a little bit of face shaping, just a little bit with a bronzer. Now the bronzer needs to be, this is like my favorite bronzer besides the Hourglass ones. This is the Tom Ford bronzer in Terra, and oh my gosh, that powder is just all over the place. In Terra, and I really enjoy shaping the face with just a regular bronzer and using it in circular motions just to give a little bit of warmth and structure to the face. It's softer, it will not age the skin, but it will definitely give a little bit of dimension to the face. It'll give a little bit of shaping kind of in this 3 right here. And that's all I would do. Do you see the difference? All right, let's talk about blush. I think that a lot of people think that you can just get away with bronzer or contour. That is totally fine. If I took the bronzer up on my cheekbone a little bit more, that could be all you need. But most people really need a little bit of color. I'm just using the Laura Geller Baked Blush in Brighten. Tropic Hues. The shade is called Tropic Hues. And I love this blush, and I'm trying to use something different for this one. So the Hourglass blushes are great. You guys have told me the Milani blushes are great for these, so that's gonna be a more affordable option. But using a blush that has a little bit of luminosity to it, this is baked, so it's gonna look very pretty on the skin. It has luminosity to it. It's gonna add to that natural shine to the skin. It's gonna really negate the need for highlighter, and it's going to make this skin just look really fresh, pretty, natural, and gives a little bit of color to the skin. So let's move on to lips and setting. So you can see actually there's a line down the center of my head where this foundation is all crazy looking. I'm gonna set the face or rehydrate the face with Too Faced's Hangover 3-in-1 setting spray. It has no alcohol and no silicone, and it's oil free. And what this is going to do is it's going to help any kind of powder that we did have on the skin kind of melt into the skin, really kind of become one with your makeup look. So if you've over powdered for any reason, a rehydrating setting spray is going to be your best friend. You can use a hydrating toner for this or something like this. The Smashbox Primer Water is amazing. It feels really good. It just makes the skin look like skin again. All right, so I like to start out with basically putting foundation kind of all over my lip. Now, how you get the best lip color for the most natural effect is to look at your natural lip tone and go in and find a formula that you like in that color. So if you do have more rich lips, like in tone or in color, that's gonna be your natural perfect shade. So going to whatever your natural lip color is going to be the best shade for you and the best for this technique. Because you absolutely can do this technique with whatever color you want, but if we're trying to go for just kind of a very soft, youthful look, going with your natural lip tone would be best. Now, if you find that you have hardly any lip color in or any color in your lips, put on lip balm and you can have that color come out a little bit more and that'll give you a better gauge. So when I start, I basically start just like this. And then if you want to, it's a little extra. This is from a company, Trace, I don't know what company it is, but anyway, take a highlighter. It's a cream highlighter. Powder highlighters have a tendency to fall into fine lines. I'm just gonna use a tiny bit on my Cupid's bow right here. And don't be afraid, just get it on your lips. And what this is gonna do, it's gonna make it look a little bit poutier. So now I'm going to apply a lip stain. All right, so that is a matte lip stain, so I'm gonna let that kind of dry down and make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. And then I'm going to my next step. The next step is lining the lips. Now you notice I line after I've applied the lipstick or stain or matte lip or whatever you're going to use because it's going to give you a more natural look. So when you line before, it has a tendency to look a little too like 80s or 90s. So I like to take a liner afterwards. Also, this Charlotte Tilbury lip liner, I've had it for years, or like a little bit over a year. I absolutely love this. It's her Lip Cheat, an iconic nude. This is the best nude lip liner for me for my skin tone. So again, you're gonna get a lip liner that matches your natural lip color. And I'm going to actually overdraw my lips just a little bit. And now on the bottom lips, all of us have a little bit, most of us have a little bit of white. It looks like your lip, but it doesn't have a lot of pigment to it. That is still your lip, and that's where you should line to make the lips look the fullest possible. All right, so those look very natural. No one would know that I overdrew them because I didn't overdraw a ton. I literally just went on the outer edge of my natural lip line. That is super important. The outer edge of your lip line is going to be the best guide. Now to finish it off, I just take a simple gloss. This is by Too Faced. It's the Sweet Peach Gloss in Papa Don't Preach. And I just use a touch in the center. So lips that have a little bit of shine to them are gonna look a little bit fuller and just a little bit more youthful. All right, you guys, so here is the kind of final look for both sides. I hope that this makes sense. I hope that it helps you guys kind of make or navigate those small misconceptions that are put out a lot on YouTube and social media, and also helps you kind of navigate your makeup as we age into this beautiful life. And we all know that it's such a blessing to be able to age because not everybody gets that opportunity. So I hope that these tips helped you and empower you to feel good about what makeup choices you are making. If you have any other tips that you guys have used and tried and true, please comment below and share with this community. We all so appreciate it. All right, so for the giveaway, today I am going to be giving away, this is the Kristen S, what is she calling this? The Kristen S Beach Wave Spray, Working Texturizing Spray, and this French pin, which I was so happy about. If you guys know, Kristen S is a friend of mine. She's a hairstylist friend who has a very popular blog. She's very popular on Instagram, but she's also just a beautiful, kind person. She and I work on a lot of clients together, and I just love to support friends. She has is a line out in Target, and it's really a fantastic line. It is really, really good. So anyway, I'm going to be giving this away. You know the drill. So you have to be subscribed. You have to hit that notifications bell and give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below just saying hi. And in the first 10 hours of this going live, I will let the winner know. All right, you guys, thanks again. I hope to see you on the next one. Lots of love from me to you. Mwah. Bye, you guys.